Hi everybody, my name's Lissa. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to show you how my husband and I, he had a big help in this, made this overhead camera mount. This way I can work on my crafts. I will be sitting on the opposite side of the desk, but the camera mount will be in the same position. I will be able to sit and work on my crafts, and the camera will be able to be right above me, recording exactly what I do. Now, what's different about this overhead camera mount is it's not as expensive. It's not pretty either, but let's be honest, saving money in our wallets kind of overrides pretty sometimes. Okay, this one, the camera mount can tilt. It can go from left to right. It can also go from front to back of the rig. So this makes things a lot easier for filming. And now I was grabbing onto the wrong part of the rig. This one also has a backdrop holder, so that way whenever I am done with creating my cards or whatever it is I'm working on and I want to photograph it, I can hang my backdrop, fabric, paper, whatever, and use my soft boxes, which I will be able to mount in here to use for video recording and for photography. And I will be able to take pictures of it from right here at my desk, which saves me from having to move to a different location and all this stuff. This is a great time saver for me. Oh, and this one can go up and down. So this one can be raised and lowered. These here, you'll see the hitch pins. There's little holes here, so this top part can be raised and lowered that has the camera on it. Some of my projects are going to be bigger, so I need more area that I can work with. And so I'm very excited that I can now make them and video record them. In the instructions, you're going to see I'm not going to be 100% accurate on what I'm telling you because I'm building this rig for my purposes. I'm building this rig for my desk. My desk is large. So my rig is 46 inches wide by 24 inches deep, and my rig can go up to 46 inches high. So I have a big rig. I would like to keep it that way. I have a big workspace. You may not have a big workspace. But I'm hoping that by watching my video, you learn little tricks and how to measure and stuff, that it will teach you the basics so you can go and apply these into making your own. So if you need a 30-inch wide rig and it's only 20 inches deep, I'm hoping that this can help you. I did want to say thank you to the YouTube channel Joe Works. I watched his video on a camera rig. I'm not bilingual. So he did it well enough that I was able to look at his and see what he did and then base mine off of his. I've added a few things, extra support bars here and there, because I wanted more stability. As you can see, mine shakes, but as an overhead camera rig, working on a craft table in front of me, I'm not going to be touching my camera rig. It's not like we're out shooting action scenes. So it's not like people are going to be dancing on tables, hopefully not. So this should be okay to remain still. And I should be able to move this with little to no camera shaking. So I wanted to tell you that my overall cost in this is estimated to be about $90. And again, I have a big rig, so I can't tell you the full estimated price or what I paid for it because some of the pieces I already had from my previous rig. But estimating those into the cost of what I paid for the new prices or the new pieces, it ends up being about estimated $90. So a lot cheaper than those overhead rigs that you can buy on Amazon and all that stuff. And this one does a lot. It's just not pretty. I will put what you need in the description box down below. I do hope you stick around for all of this. It is going to be a rather long video. I hope you gather some useful information for this, and thanks for watching. A couple of the pieces I've already made out of 1/2 inch. If you're going to make them, you can make them out of 1 inch. As I make the rest of the base, I already had 1/2 inch, so to save myself some money, I went on ahead and made it out of 1/2 inch. So, I've already made this piece. Some of the pieces I couldn't get apart, so the parts that I could get apart, I'm going to show you what I did here. Okay, because I want my camera mount to be a total of 46 inches wide. That's as wide as the opening on my desk is. I want it to be 30 inches tall, but it's going to be able to raise and lower. And I want it to be 24 inches deep. So from the end that way to this way, it's going to go 24 inches. The way I figure out how I need to space my fittings along with my pipe is each of the fittings has inside a little line. If you look inside your fitting, you'll see this little line right in here. There's a little stop line right there. Do you see it?
Yep.
Okay. What you're going to do is that's where your PVC pipe will stop. So you will take your measuring tape and you're going to push your measuring tape in that far. Now this one has a stop point of 7/8 inch. So I know that the piece of pipe that goes in there, if I want it to be hidden, has to be smaller than 7/8 of an inch. So what I've already done is on this end cap, I've already cut it. The inside of this one is also 7/8 of an inch. So I've cut this piece, it's 1 3/4. So this pipe is 1 3/4 inches long. So now I can take this piece and push it up in here, and you can't see the little pipe that's in, but these two meet. What I've done is I have taken these pieces and gotten them all ready. And it's the same to go for these pieces to go up into the larger piece I'll show you in a minute. So to make my support bar to go across, this piece has 7/8 of an inch inside of it. So if I want 24 inches this way, and this piece here is 2 inches wide. So 24 minus 2 minus another 2 takes us down to 20. But I need to add back that 1 3/4 inches. So this piece, I'm horrible at math.
21 3/4?
Is 21 3/4. Did I actually do that? I did 21 1/2. So I did 21 1/2. So mine's not exactly going to be 24 inches. That's terrible. Yeah, so now mine is 23 1/2. Mine's a 1/2 inch short. So apparently my whole system's going to be 23 1/2. And you know you've done your math right if your ending result adds up to be the depth that you want your stand. Okay. The bottom part of my stand is going to be 1 inch pipe. So I have 1 inch pipe. How are you going to get that into 1/2 inch pipe? 1 inch pipe's just going to surround it. What I'm going to use is something called a reducer bushing. This will take it from 1 inch to 1/2 inch here. What it is, this fits into a 1 inch pipe fitting piece. So the fitting piece, it will fit into one of these. And then your pipe fits in here. Now sometimes I have trouble, like here, to get them in. So what I like to do is take a mallet and take out my aggression on it. So that solves that. now, whenever I go to put this up, I can put this on here. And this will go into my 1/2-inch pipe. And it makes where my 1/2-inch pipe can now fit onto a 1-inch piece of pipe. If I hold this one upright, it'll fit too. I'm assembling this as I go, because otherwise I would have to take these apart and then put them back together, and some of the pieces aren't quite so easy to do. So some of your pieces are going to be loose. If you want, you can put a construction adhesive, you can put super glue in them. I personally am just going to leave them. Really gets the ingression out. Okay, so this is the next step of the base. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of 1-inch PVC pipe. This is a 10-foot long piece. I think my Home Depot sold it. I'm throwing things, y'all. My Home Depot sold it for about $3 a piece. What I'm doing is we need to make a support bar for the back piece. This entrance here is 7/8 to go to that stop bar in the back. You'll see why in a bit that we want to keep this middle hole here clear. So if I take this, I've already pre-measured. This T-square, or this T-fitting, is 2 3/8 inches wide this way. So if I want my camera mount to be 46 inches wide, so what I did was take 46 minus 2 3/8, but then, well, I subtracted 2 3/8 twice, and then I added back 2 of the 7/8. And what that did, that gave me 43. So this pipe that's in the back needs to be 43 inches long. And this is going to stabilize the back of the camera support. So I'm marking that. And what I'm going to do is, because in the front of my camera mount, I'm going to have a second stabilization bar up at the top, because the video I got this from didn't have one, and I felt that it really needed one. It seemed a little shaky to me, that kind of thing. So I wanted to add one up top. It's above where my head is going, so it should be good. It shouldn't get in the way. And then it makes this part more sturdy, so in case I do have to take off the top, I don't have to worry about this part just flopping around everywhere. So what I'm going to do is these two T-fittings I have turned towards the interior. So I'm going to take this, since I have the floor right here. I want to make sure, because we're doing exact measurements, you want to make sure that your stuff goes in exactly the way, or as far as you need it to. So you can't have any little gaps on this. Okay. Now we have the bottom of our base. And this one is doing this because it's crooked a little bit. The pole needs to spin. And I'm dropping tools everywhere. Okay, once you get your poles done, it'll stand up square, but usually if it's not square or it's not resting right, or hear it clank as it moves side to side, your poles are just crooked or they're twisted. Okay, I decided to add the French stabilization bar because, as you can see, well, you probably haven't seen the demo video yet. The one that I based it off of. It was fully in Spanish. The reason I'm putting in extra support is because this will move in and out, and I don't want that. I want mine to be firm, stable, and rigid, I guess. So, now I'm going to cut the support bar for up here. In a minute, we will do the bars that get us up to there. But for right now, I'm going to go ahead and cut that support bar because I already know how wide it needs to be. And this way, it'll save me from having to go back and remeasure and all this stuff. Okay, so now I have an additional 43-inch bar. Okay, so you might be asking why I used 1 inch instead of 3/4 or 1/2 inch. In order to make my top piece be able to go up and down, which is totally optional, you don't have to do that. If you don't want to, you can totally make your base out of 1/2 inch PVC pipe, save yourself some money because the fittings are cheaper. But because I do bigger projects, I needed something that would raise up and go down at a moment's notice. So I didn't use 3/4 because the 1/2 inch pipe will not go into 3/4. It will go into a 3/4 inch fitting, but it won't go into the pipe. But it will go into a 1 inch pipe. So this gives me, hi hair, this gives me the perfect way to raise and lower my system. In order to make the posts on here, I wanted to make my system 30 inches tall before I raise it. So, in order to figure out what that is, I used my tape measure and measured from here to here, which is 7 1/4 inches. Again, I'm using 1/2 inch PVC pipe down here. If you don't use 1/2 inch PVC pipe down here, your measurements are going to be different from mine. So be sure and take that into account. The top part is going to be made mostly, except for the moving parts, out of 1/2 inch PVC pipe and fittings. So this is what's going to go on the corners. So I needed to measure this and this, which is a 1 inch T-fitting PVC pipe. So that way I could subtract the length of this and these together to get the length of my pipes that have to go in here. So in doing that, I came up with 19.5 inches. So the pipes that go in here had to be 19.5 inches in order to meet the 30-inch height requirement of my base. Now I have my 19.5 piece pipes. And you might ask, how am I going to get the 1/2 inch pipe to stay to a certain height? This is where you borrow your husband's tools, or your tools. So, we're going to drill holes through designated spots in each spot of the pipe for different heights. This was the most expensive part for me of the camera mount. This is called a hitch pin. On the website or video that I got my idea from, he uses bolts and nuts, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be able to just pull a pin and have it come out. What I'm using is a hitch pin that is 1/4 inch by 1 3/4 inch. This has a little ball at the end, and it's a little pin with a jump ring on it, and I'll put one on each corner of the camera mount, and then whenever I want to move the height, all I have to do is just pull the cord or pull the pin. So now my husband gets to come in and do the drilling on the holes. Okay, so now that all of our holes are nice and drilled, thank you, honey. You just have to remember which one you had for the top and which one you had for the bottom, and you want to make sure your holes are all facing the same way. So what I'm doing is I'm having mine where they'll face me. The spacing of your holes is up to you. I decided to go on ahead and put a little hole down here that will hold my hitch pin whenever I do not have my camera stand raised. So I have my 3 hitch pins here. One isn't opened, and I can put those through right there. And then if I need to pull one out, all I do is I just grab the ring and pull, and I can set it up to do the other side. Just make sure that your dimensions, your measurements are the same on all poles. I would start at the top and go down. Measure the pole not inside of a fitting. This way you can make sure that they are all at the same height, and that way your top of your camera mount is not going to be wonky. Next up, I want to put my horizontal bar towards the front, and towards the back I wanted to put my backdrop bar that I decided I was going to use. So for this I have 4 more T-squares, or T-fittings. These will fit on here. These will face towards the inside because our front bar that we've already cut earlier, or I've already cut earlier, that matches the width of this bar is here. So automatically it's going to give me some more stability. Now, on the back of this, and I dropped a hitch pin. Okay, on the back of this, I'm going to be using 2 T-fittings and 2 90-degree elbow fittings, and also another piece of pipe. I didn't cut this length of pipe because the difference in the width of pipe may be different. So I didn't want to go ahead and pre-cut it, and since I'm building this as I'm talking to you, I didn't know. So I'm going to go on ahead and attach my T-fittings. These I'm going to put where the opening is facing the back. And this one I'm also going to put so the opening is facing the back. So now is the time that I will fit fitting to fitting. So this is where those measurements we came up with earlier came in handy. This part of the 1-inch T-fitting is 7/8 inch. Okay, so this one, the interior, is also 7/8. So we know that that means the little piece, because these have to have a piece of pipe that fits to them to go together. This little piece of pipe that goes in has to be less than 1 3/4 inches. Okay, so now these will fit into here. They look like those little things on the ship that you see. Okay, now I'm going to put these so they're back here and they're facing outwards or inwards. I'm knocking out hitch pins again. I'm turning this thing too. Okay, so now what I want to do is take and measure from here to here, which actually the cool thing, I can measure from inside that pipe fitting to inside this pipe fitting. And if you actually do build stuff, cut me some slack. And I have 43.5 inches. So it is different from the others. So now, let's see if this pipe is 43.5. See if this pipe's a little longer. It's long enough, and then I don't have to pull out another pipe. 43.5. What do you know? Okay. So, we're going to cut this pipe. To 43.5 inches. And now this piece is going to go in here. And I will be able to take and put my long paper over this to stretch down in front, and I will clamp it with my 2 clamps. So then I will have a backdrop for those, and once I install my softbox lights, which I'll do in another video how I make those, I will have the perfect photo box area. So, okay. I know many of you are going to ask why I have used these fittings here, the T-fittings here on the front, if I don't have a bar going across. Well, that's because when I was at my Home Depot, I could not find just pipe couplers. And even if I did find pipe couplers, I could not guarantee they would be the same height as the T-fittings. And then also, I didn't want to have to, in case they weren't, deal with extra measurements and throw more math on top of it, because sorry to all my math teachers in high school and college, but math is hard for me. So I kept it simple and went on ahead and used the T-fittings instead of using couplers. But you are more than welcome to use couplers. This actually completes our base. Okay, now we're going to make the top part, which is going to be able to move the camera back and forth for me, and it's also going to be able to move side to side for me. And this is the part that's going to raise and lower. So, oh, and the camera's going to be able to tilt back and forth. So, I have enclosed the link to the video that I got my inspiration from. We're going to make the camera mount part, the part that will move back and forth and up and down. And this one, we're going to use 3/4 inch PVC pipe fittings, because 1/2 inch PVC pipe fits perfectly through 3/4 inch PVC pipe fittings, just not the pipe. So what we're going to do, and we're needing this to slide, so it needs to slide on these. Okay, so you will need, as I'm throwing things, that's 1 inch, I think. Yeah. You will need some 3/4 inch PVC pipe, but not too much. So if you want to get one of those smaller cut sizes at your home improvement store, you can, but usually they cost a lot more. So, I mean, I think I paid $1.99 for my 3/4 inch by 10 foot piece of pipe. So I would save it, because as crafters, we're always building something, and I already have plans to build something else out of PVC pipe. So what I'm doing is, this is the middle. This is a 4-way cross. And I'm going to take that and connect it to a T-square on the right side and on the left side. And these are also 3/4 fittings. So the interior, I discussed before how to measure for your little piece that connects inside. In order to fit fitting to fitting, you have to have a piece of pipe. The interior for this one is 1 inch, so it's good that I measured. And this one is 7/8 of an inch. So 1 inch, 1 and 7/8 of an inch. Yes, I'm pretty sure there will be a bloopers reel after this. Okay, so 1 and 7/8. And you can make this a little bit smaller, because you don't really want any gaps in this. You just really want these to be butted up against each other. So I'm going to make mine 1 3/4. I'm going to use my PVC ratcheting pipe cutter. Excuse me. Allergies in Kentucky are terrible this time of year. The rest of my family seems fine, but I am not. I'm going to take that, feed it in there. I'm going to take this, feed it in there. So I've got that piece in here, and we're going to need 2 of them so they can run down the track. So I'm going to go ahead and cut another one so I can attach another T-fitting to the other side. Now remember, these 2 pieces are going to end up in here, and in order to get your piece to tilt, you're going to want them to be able to freely rotate, not jerk. So you may need to file the ends, file either this part down smaller or file out this part. I'm going to do so with my Dremel tool. Okay, so I couldn't figure out how to do it. First, I was filing it with a fingernail file, just this part. Couldn't get it down enough. I guess I didn't have enough RPMs in my hand. Then I tried WD-40 to see if I could get liquidity, you know, if it moves and it's not supposed to, duct tape. If it doesn't move and it's supposed to, WD-40. Did not work. So now I'm using my Dremel with a sanding bit on the end. This is just a camshaft bit. I have it so that way whenever I do the dog's nails, it's not quite so scary, the big machines near them. So I'm going to turn this up. I've already got one where it's kind of turning. There's a little grip, which you want, so that way it just doesn't automatically flop back over to where it was. This way it'll actually keep your tilt where you want your camera. So now all I'm doing is I'm just going around in a circle on the inside of that PVC pipe. And of course you probably might want to wear eye protection and mouth or face mask and stuff like this, but apparently I'm stupid. Or unsafe. Okay, so random little test. That one's still sticking too much. And I'm just going around in little circles inside, as you can see. I'm just taking it and going around all sides in there. I figure since this is a circle, this is probably the best way in order to get a circular motion. Okay, and there we go. We have a little bit of a grip. I might take that one just a little bit more. Okay. Okay, and that's awesome. That's what I want. Okay, I will clean up my desk and get right back to you. Okay, that was bad. That's worse than glitter. So, okay, we now have these. They're moving with a little bit of give. You want them to stay that way, so that way whenever you tilt your camera, it will hold and not just fall back to wherever it was. Okay, so now for these, your 1/2-inch pole slides through, but it does jiggle a little bit. So one of the things that you want to do is take some Velcro. Okay, so what I figured out is that since this is the part that's going to be sticky, and I need it to go to this part, if I roll this up and peel off one corner, now that I'm doing it on camera and have people watching closely, it won't work. Hold that part back, and then I have just a little bit of sticky part. I can put that in the hole, and it will be sticky there. And then I just continue to pull it, pull the release paper, and go around the interior of the fitting. And then of course it'll come and do like I just did, where I'm using my pliers to peel it up a little bit. So I can try and lay that back out flat. I don't think it needs to be perfect. It just needs to be so that way your 1/2-inch PVC will fit. Another thing I noticed, if your end ends up looking like this, where there's stuff hanging over it, I have a X-Acto knife here. This is a heavy duty. This is a number 2 blade. I'm pretty sure you could accomplish the same thing with an 11 blade, which is the regular X-Acto blade. But all I'm doing is taking this and shaving as close as I can to the fitting. And then I don't have to worry about any sticky parts that are going to get dirty. But just be careful that you don't hurt your fingers. So if you get it outside of it, don't worry, you can fix it. Then you can stick a spare piece of PVC pipe in and just make sure that everything is flat and pushing in smooth. Okay, now that those are all smooth, let me pick up my trash and put aside the Velcro. You can see out of this box, this was one roll, 15 feet by 3/4 inch Velcro. It says it holds 5 pounds. You see how much I have left. I will use it for many other projects. Okay, so now we have our Velcro in either end. So it looks like this. They'll be able to rotate, but still stick a little bit. That way they don't just fall back flat. Now, I went on ahead and made I've had this before because I've had an overhead camera mount for a different craft table. I got a new craft table almost 2 years ago. Sorry it's taken me so long. But I got a new craft table almost 2 years ago. So I was able to take this part. This is where almost all of my 1/2 inch pieces have come from. So I was able to save a lot of money by reusing my 1/2 inch pieces. This is what I mount my camera on. This is actually the same size. This screw here is the same size as the hole and thread as the hole in the bottom of your camera. So what I did was mine is a little off center because the mount on my video camera is a little off center. But what I did, this size screw, excuse me, I have a little bit of Velcro stuck on my finger, is okay, so these are flat Phillips with nuts. So these are actual little bolts. They are 1/4 inch 20s, and they're 1/2 of an inch. I have a bunch left, you can see. What I did, I drilled a hole for it. I drilled the hole through here. And then I used my screwdriver and just made it through there. Now, this is permanent, but now there's just enough that I can attach my camera onto it. Okay, so we have this part, and I've shown you this piece. This piece I made out of 1/2 inch PVC pipe because my previous camera mount, I've already explained, was 1/2 inch PVC. This is 3/4 inch PVC because we need it to slide nicely along the 1/2 inch PVC pipe. You'll see what I'm going to make with this in a bit. If you've watched the video from Joe Works, you know exactly what I'm going to do. So, kind of. I'm doing mine a little bit different than his. This is a reducing bushing. I used a reducing bushing earlier in the video. This is a reducing bushing. This one goes from 3/4 inch PVC down to 1/2 inch PVC pipe. So this part here will fit into a 3/4 inch PVC pipe fitting, and then I will be able to put a 3/4 or a 1/2 inch PVC pipe in through here. So in order to make your measurement to fit the extended piece of the pipe in, you need to measure to this little line that is inside. Also, be aware that some of these will have these stickers on, and that can make getting your fittings pretty tight to get on. That's where the mallet comes in handy for me. So now I have two 3/4 inch reducing bushings here. So they reduce from 3/4 inch down to 1/2. If my teenager can quit laughing, you may need to leave the room. Okay, these will fit into the 3/4 inch PVC fittings I have here. What I'm going to do is I am going to put, okay, the way he does his mount, he has where his handle is up top. Because mine is going to be 30 inches tall and possibly taller, I don't want mine up top. I want mine to be down on the side. So this will be like this on the mount, and then I will be able to slide it back and forth. So it will actually end up being like this on the mount. So I need to put a reducer bushing in the top and a reducer bushing in the bottom. Okay, so now this part I need to create a little piece of PVC pipe that will fit into here to go here, because I want this part to hang down so it can hold my camera. Or not be wary. Be careful of buying your fittings from different stores or at different times, because they could be made by different manufacturers and stuff. So therefore the measurements on the insides of the fittings could be different. So if you can, get all your fittings at one time. If you can't and you're doing like I am, just make sure that you're doing your measurements right. Now, he had his handle straight up. I don't want that. And since this is going to appear like this, it's actually going to go like this on my mount. So I kind of want this to be turned. I want my handle to come down at an angle. So what I decided to do is take and use a 90-degree angle and then use a 45-degree angle. So once again, then I decided that I wanted my handle to be 10 inches. So in order to make my handle where it has a nice grip to it, and I'm not just grabbing the end, and because it's aesthetically pleasing, I decided to use some duct tape. So I'm going to tape the end. First, I'm going to put it in here. Then I'm going to tape the end and kind of stretch that duct tape over the end. So I get this nice roundness. Okay. Then I'm going to cut the duct tape because I know duct tape is terrible. Terrible, T-E-A-R-A-B-L-E. Not the other. It can be terrible if you put it on your wall. So, yes, I just put that on my table. Then, I'm going to come as close as I can to the edge of that and smooth out any wrinkles. Now, if you watched Joe's video, you saw that he had a pre-made handle. I do not. I just don't. So, I'm improvising. That's what we crafters do. So, okay, I have done that. That is all nice and pretty. And now I will take another piece and go up one more row. I'm pulling this tight. So that way I get a nice flat piece. Otherwise it would bother me to no end. And since I have a piece that's hanging over there, I'm cutting it short. Okay, and so now my handle has a pretty end. So, okay, now once again, the top is made out of 1/2 inch PVC pipe, but we're using in some places 3/4 inch PVC pipe fittings, so that way the 1/2 inch PVC pipe will glide smoothly over or in the 3/4 inch PVC pipe. So, I know that I need to make my sides 23.5 inches deep. So they'll be this way. And what I need to do is these will actually be the corners. This is a 3-way. So I can put this in the corner and it will allow me to have a brace running this way and a brace running this way. Now, this piece is 1 7/8 inch wide. I need to remember that when doing my calculations. But then the interior part of this piece is 3/4 of an inch. So, if I want mine to be 23.5 inches wide, I have to take away, let's see, I'll do this from the math I did earlier. Okay, so 23.5 minus 2 of these is 1.875 is 1 7/8. Minus 1.875, so that's 2 of those. That means that right now, the part that is in between these two Okay, I had it right. In between these two, from this point to this point, needs to be 19 3/4 inches. So now I need to add back the 7/8 that was in, or the 3/4 that was inside. So adding back 0.75 on this end and adding back 0.75 on this end, that means that our pipe, our PVC pipe in the middle, needs to equal 21 inches, 21 1/4 inches wide, long. And we're going to need 2 of those to go that way. So I will put one here, because you want those to go all the way in order for your measurements to equal up. So that's one side. And this is the other side. Now, once again, this is what I've taken off of, what I've been inspired off of the website, off of the video that I will be linking in the description box. So his is not like this, mine is, because I wanted some more sturdiness to mine. So, okay. This is the top part. Now, to go width-wise, I'm actually going to have to take this apart, is 45 1/4 inches. Okay. And so then we already know the interior dimensions of these. So I know that my bar going across needs to be 43 inches. And I'm going to need 2 of those. So I have 2 that are 43 inches. While this is down here, I'll go on ahead and beat this one into submission. Okay. Then I will put this one in here, this one in here. Okay. And now we have our square up top. But we need something for this to slide along. And it'll go that way too. So I need to pull these apart. So yesterday I was trying to finish up the top and I realized that I was short by 2 bushings and 4 feet of 1/2-inch PVC pipe. So I had to run out to Home Depot today. Went out and bought my 2 more bushings and my other 10-foot pole of 1/2-inch PVC pipe. Okay, so now back to where we were. This is the component that will make it where it will move from back to front. And then this is the component that will make it where it will slide from side to side. So we have these two T fittings. On this set of T fittings we did on here, we put Velcro. Remember, this is the part that is 44 3/4 inches. So this is the top part that will go facing me into in our camera stand, or in my camera stand. Okay, this is the depth width. So this is the one that will go here. Okay, so I'm taking one of these fittings. Actually, I should probably do this first. Okay, this is the 3/4 inch to 1/2 inch pipe bushing, reducer bushing. So this will go into the fitting. You tap that in, and then 1/2-inch PVC pipe will fit in there. So I need to put one of those in all 4 of these pieces. Okay, so 2 will go at that end, 2 will go at this end. I'm going to put 2 here. And connect this end. And this end. Then, if I can do this gracefully without hitting myself in the head, probably not. Cool. I didn't do it. Okay. Then I will take this other end that is the same length as that end. These are cut to 23.5 inches. I'm experimenting. This is the best part about engineering with PVC pipe. So, okay. There. Okay, now we need 2 pieces that will connect. Sorry, I'm cleaning up my mess here. That will connect on each side from these 2 pieces. And this is what our camera rig will move down, back and forth. And because these, the camera will be able to slide front and back. So, we need to measure how much we need. I'm throwing more stuff off. So, I need inside is 7/8 of an inch, 7/8 of an inch. I know my dad will probably cringe whenever he sees this. Okay. So my pipe needs to be 42 3/4 of an inch. And I need 2 of those. Now, these two pieces, this is going to go down, and I need to decide right now if I would like it. Actually, it doesn't matter because it's universal which way it goes. Okay, so these are going to go in here. And in here. And then we're going to put one in here. The other in here. And then we're going to put one in here. And the other in here. And make sure that those stay. Okay, so doing my type of engineering, not the mathematics type. Sorry, Dad. Okay, my type of engineering would be to work backwards. So the height I don't want to go above is 46 inches. So with this being my highest hole here, I want to put my pole in and figure out the highest point that is 46 inches. So my husband helped me, and we figured that out with a fitting on top that ended up being 20 inches. Now I'm going to cut 3 more to this exact same length, and those are going to be the legs that go inside the 1-inch poles. At the very highest, it is going to be a little unstable, but that's going to be the one that I use the rarest. So if that's how high you're going to use it most often, you're going to want your base number to be that high. So my base number is here on the side where there would be nothing. So my base number is 30 inches. So that means my overhead camera rig is the most stable at 30 inches tall. I will have less shake, and it's not rigid right now because it doesn't have the top in it because we haven't completed it. But it'll be, I'll have less shake, it'll be a little more rigid. But if you do need something that is taller because you have a longer video camera than I do, I'm using a small Canon video camera, then you'll definitely want your rig to go higher. And I would extend your base poles higher to support that. That way you have more stability to hold your heavier camera or higher rig. So I now have my 4 pieces, and I can attach them to the piece that goes inside of this. I have my 4 pieces. I have my top with the ends of the fitting facing up, and now I can put these on here. My husband and I were discussing while we were putting this on the table, I think I may have an engineering problem. But that's okay because I'm creating this, developing it, learning while I'm creating it. So that has been no secret from the beginning. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay. This is the part that will go into the bottom of your camera rig. My camera rig. Okay. Now, this works seamlessly. The problem comes trying to move it back and forth to go forwards and backwards. In the video that I took my inspiration from, His 4-way cross fitting that he used for his center was the same length this way as his 3/4 inch PVC fittings. Mine isn't. So I had too much of a gap there. So I eliminated it. Remember, on the sides, there's not an extra one there. So there's extra room in there. So there's too much room to allow me to move it freely. So I need to come up with a way to get this thing to be able to move back and forth on the rig this way, and then I can get back to you. It's another day. Last time we talked, my husband and I discovered another engineering error on my part, so I'm playing while I learn. Okay, so y'all have been learning with me. So this is not pre-made. I don't have set measurements. I'm learning as I go. We made the track, and if you remember, we did the track with only 2 of the 3/4 inch T-fittings. And trying to move it back and forth, it wasn't taking it. It would move apart, this would fall out. It was bad. It was terrible. My husband came up with the idea of putting a 1-inch piece of pipe in between the 2 T-fittings. We tried that. We tried adhering them with epoxy. I did not put enough epoxy on, and they came apart. We ended up duct taping the piece of 1-inch pipe to the 3/4 inch fitting using the WD-40 and duct tape rule. If it moves and it's not supposed to, use duct tape. If it doesn't move and it's supposed to, use WD-40. So now it moves back and forth. As you can see, it is a little jiggly. It's PVC pipe, okay? It's not perfect. Okay, I wouldn't recommend filming while you're doing it. But also, this piece will move back and forward. This is how my camera will go. My camera will go right here. And then I wanted to show you, you're going to lose me for a second. This is how the backdrop works. Remember that curved pole we put at the very back? That looks kind of like a monkey bar, but it's not. Okay, so I have my clamps up there. This is some banner paper. Okay, this is some banner paper. It came off of a roll. That I picked up at Walmart. I know they sell some of them at Staples, office supply stores. I'm sure Amazon has some. They have different colors, that kind of thing. I like to use these as my white backdrop for taking photos of my cards. You get a lot in a roll, and I use them. How I will put this up is I will put it over this. I will be able to come forward and put this in, and then with my lights coming down, I will have a ready-made photo box. I decided that I was going to be totally honest about mine. In mine, I have noticed that a couple of things I've had problems with. Okay, mine. First time we put it on the table, we could move it back and forth really easy. Mine was moving around a lot, that I could just do this and it would move back and forth, and I didn't want that because I might bump it while I'm making a card or working on a project. So, see how easy that was? That's awesome. I love that. So, I used this. I've had this stuff for years. I think I've had it for about 11 years. It's been sitting in my garage. It's called Rhino Grip Traction Non-Slip Rug Strip. So basically it's rubber with adhesive on it. You put it on the bottom of your rugs and they don't move. you can just put this on the bottom of the feet. I used a little square on each foot. So all I did was pick it up, cut out a little square, put it on the bottom. I also found that I had a problem with some of my pipes coming apart. So trying to pick this up, move it around, that kind of thing. I decided to, as they come apart, I'm going to put adhesive in them. If they don't come apart, I'm not putting adhesive in it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So that's where I'm standing. I hope this has helped you in design your own. Again, this is built to the dimensions that I needed. If you need any help, I can help you create the dimensions for yours. I can help you do the math for yours and that kind of thing. Unfortunately, I can't buy all the supplies for you. All that kind of stuff. I wish I could. But I can help you with all the math and the amount of fittings that you need. I can help you figure all that stuff out. So I hope you find this video helpful, and I hope y'all have a good rest of your quarantine. And if this is after the quarantine, thank God we're out.